Alrighty. Well, um, talking about school. Well, one of the things that always kind of bothers me with the way where that looks like things are headed, right? One of the things that sucks about that is, at the end of the day, what was school invented for, right? Well, people wanted their kids to be educated, know how to read and write, because it increased their capacity to achieve. So, parents got together and they organized, learning. Rich people would just hire tutors, come to the school, or come to the house. But eventually, in America at least, they invented schools for kids. Now, that's why summer breaks are so prevalent and all this kind of stuff, because for the most part, it was a bunch of rural people, right? They had farms and such, so, during the summer, there was the harvest, so you had to harvest stuff. School was out. Blah, blah, blah. There was no piece of paper. We just wanted our kids educated. There was no piece of paper that said, this is this and that's that. Now, as a rubric for measuring things, though, right? Teachers want to feel like they're effective. Students wanted to feel like they were effective, right? Because everybody involved at first was, hey, this is like a cool concept. Like, look, my parents are making sure I get taught some stuff, and we got a person here in the community that knows how to teach. Like, they know how to read and write. They can teach us, blah, 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 right? So yeah, everybody on there had good intentions, and then the whole institution was valued by just about everybody involved, because it was like community driven, organized by the community, and it was very much appreciated. All right. Well, what happened? Well, teachers probably kind of invented this grade concept because they want to be able to measure their own efficacy. So they're like, I'm going to give like a test. I'm going to invent these things. I'm going to test your ability to have learned the stuff. That way I know how effective I am as a teacher. You maybe have like some feedback as to how effective you are as a student. And, blah, blah, blah. It'll help us improve. Okay? So it was actually a feedback mechanism for the teacher and the students. And yeah, maybe the parent too, but honestly, the parent, I actually kind of doubt that the parents were even involved at first. I bet it was more of a tool for the teacher. The teachers the parents might see the letter there, they wouldn't even know what it means, right? Like, it was like a new thing invented by who? The teacher. I almost guarantee that's how that went down. Well, once you got that catches on and starts to spread. Well, actually, I could even admit that I think teaching became like a thing in the 1800s, right? That's the Industrial Revolution. I'm betting the grade system was used by that stuff too. Maybe it came from that vector. That's a possibility as well. So I haven't done any research on this myself. I'm just brainstorming, right? about the plausibility of this stuff. So take everything with a grain of salt. But the point is that I'm betting the grade system was intended as a feedback mechanism for the teacher and possibly the students, not the other way around. Like, it wasn't some like, I'm going to monitor the teacher from like on high I don't even think principal was a position at first. In fact, like, that came later. So then standardized testing came about at some point, and basically the school system started to go to shit. And that's because it's like they don't know, like at that point now you have like the gaming mentality comes in. This is before video games, obviously, but I'm saying like the same thing that makes people hyper competitive about gaming and all this kind of stuff, right? And the same thing about like the completionist mentality and all these different things that arise in video game culture, these different approaches to things. Standardized testing kind of put that on hyperdrive for everybody. Now you have like politicians, you have principals, you have organizers, you have all these people getting involved, and what they just want to see everybody making A's. So then, and they like the idea of like, there's like this mental satisfaction, when you're like we're checking a box. So this idea of a standardized test is very attractive to people who haven't really thought about it, because it satisfies some kind of, we're just leveling the playing field and getting more data and more data and more data and blah blah blah. And it's just like, yeah, but the higher that data escalates, the less meaningful it is to the people above, because at that point it's just raw numbers, and there's so many other factors right in play. How are you going to standardize how teachers assign grades and how principal? So then you open up so many problems that are basically, I want to say they're invisible to like 99% of the people out there, right? They just don't think about this stuff. Like, okay, so we have a de facto grading system that exists across things, standardized testing, blah blah blah. All right, but so all the kids are going to take the test, but like the curriculum might be different from school to school to school, blah blah. So then over time, so anyway, make a long story short, curriculum starts trying to get standardized as well, which means now teachers, they can't even teach the material the way they want to teach the material, even with their good intentions. And this is back when everybody was mostly sane. You don't have people like, yeah, you had some Christian teachers and stuff teaching things from the Christian perspective or whatever, but like there was good intentions involved, right? And I don't think that that's as damaging as people like to think it is, right? Because after all, it was mostly Christians that were organizing the schools in the first place, so they're the ones that got it off the ground, in America at least, right? So yeah, you got that going on. At some point, people kind of forgot why the grades were put in place in the first place, and fundamentally, why schools were put in place in the first place. And now the goal has shifted from, let's get as many students with A's as possible, right? Because there's like when schools get lots of good grades and stuff, they get more money from the county, the state, and the federal government, because the federal government's involved now for some fucking reason. They get more money. So, heck, we might even like try to pad some stuff so that kids, like, we might even give out better grades than we otherwise would to get more money. Then you have the sports kind of enter the arena as well. Sports, you have people donate money to schools because their sports teams are awesome, right? Oh, we went to state on the football thing. Oh, let's donate some money. Oh, look, they need some T-shirts and stuff for the football team, so that their jerseys and stuff, So let's give them a bunch of fucking money donate money. Because I remember when I was in school, and man, sports was so fun and all this kind of stuff. So they have good intentions. But what that turns into is the sports department of a high school or middle school or whatever, right? It can be profitable. That can be a major vector that money comes into the school actually now. So you're going to, now you've added an incentive to be like, well, this guy's really good at sports, but he's a lazy piece of shit and doesn't do his work, or maybe he's kind of dumb. So we're going to give him good grades, just to keep him on the sports team, because you have to have a minimum GPA to stay on the sports team, blah, blah, blah. So you can see how the incentives across the board, the incentives and disincentives at the school system are broken. Then you also have, over time, parents have become more ornery, right? And so there was a point where people started attacking the school system, maybe with some good reason, because teachers might have been all high and mighty at the time or something. I have no idea. They still are to this day sometimes. They think they're holier than thou or whatever. But I'm not saying it started. I don't know if chicken and the egg. I don't know who started it, right? But you had parents. At some point, parents would you got Karens. We'll say Karens. That, I'm going to complain to the school system that, Timmy fell down and skinned his knee and somebody should have been watching him in this kind of... So then, various pressures like that over time have basically sterilized all the social development aspect that was a part of the schools when I was a kid. And maybe even before I was a kid, but before I was born, when my parents went to school and all this kind of stuff. There's this level of social awareness and development that was kind of intrinsic to the system. So you weren't just learning math and science and reading and writing. You were learning social, look, I'm in the middle school and I get my ass beat. I get beat up. I get bullied. And now I learn how to cope with that at a young age. Rather than having to possibly learn how to deal with that as an older age, I can learn to deal with that at a younger age. I might even be a bully. Right? I might be the bully, and I see the social ramifications of being a bully, right? So maybe not all bullies reform, but I'm sure some do, right? In fact, I've seen it. I had seen that. So, all of that kind of, parents would attack the schools and say, oh, basically holding the school some kind of, accidents happen, man. So in the school system or trying to get a teacher fired or blah, 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 every time something just kind of goes wrong, that's retarded, right? Things happen. If it happens due to negligence or because of some other kind of thing, maybe there's a case to be made, but there's a lot of times people just complain and they're unreasonable. And I think that problem's just gotten worse. Got a lot of unreasonable parents now. And then on the other end, when that happens, it's like the school's gets defensive. So you kind of start getting an us versus them mentality of let's not tell the parents that this happened because this happened. And they're going to be all crazy and stuff. You can see that happen too, right? And I'm not even saying this. It's not even that's not bad intentions either. It's just that there are some unreasonable parents out there. Maybe sometimes it was nefarious, sure. But other times it was because the school's just man, I can't deal with this crap anymore. What's wrong with these freaking people? There's something broken about them. And when we try to tell people that, look, that parent's just being unreasonable, we get dogpiled because we're viewed as an institution now. And so it's we're the big guys in the room and we're just picking on some parent. So the perception there, instead of people using their fucking brains and actually figuring out okay, I'm going to look at this in a neutral way. I'm going to treat the school system as one side. I'm going to treat the parent, and I'm going to look at the facts that are known. And I'm going to try and evaluate rationally and blah, blah, blah. No. It's just they're picking on the parent. It's a big old school system. They got all this money. They're going to use lawyers and everything. It's retarded. Freaking retarded. All right. People using their emotions and crap. Dogpiling. All right. So, anyway, Then you see, at some point, we started doing participation trophies and all this kind of stuff, and like meritocracy starts to fade away because it's like, I want my kid to feel good about themselves, and when there's winners, there's a got to be losers. When there's losers and stuff, it makes them feel bad, can lower their self-esteem. So you start taking away like the competitive nature of school. And since the school system's under attack all the time, basically constant surveillance where people are just waiting for something to go wrong so they can sue them, because sometimes it's just opportunism as well, right? On the parents' side. You get rid of recess, you get rid of all the things, like school is basically completely sterilized at this point. Like, I don't think my kids learn anything as far as social dynamics. I don't think my kids learn anything from school. I do not think school is an effective means of learning social awareness, social skills, developing social skills. That's not something you learn at school anymore, I don't think. Which is pretty terrible. And then academically, people are under attack as well. Meritocracy is under attack. At some point, it's been winding down for a while. The school system's been winding down in its efficacy for years. Possibly since I was a kid, actually. And I just probably saw the trailing end of that. But I really do believe this COVID stuff finally kicked it in, finally killed it. And what I think happened here is now, I think it's been going on for a while. Like, you might see a kid get like good enough grades to pass high school, just because even they should fail. Oh yeah, that was the thing. You used to get held back grades. Like, if I didn't pass 7th grade, I might have to repeat 7th grade and do all the classes over again. We don't do that no more. They continue to pass. They remediate those particular courses. They got to get certain credits and stuff. But there's no social, like, oh, look, you're like older than everybody else. You must be a retard, right? That judgment, that visible judgment that might make you more embarrassed or whatever, right? That kind of makes you go like, oh, shit. Well, if I can't fail again, because if I fail again, blah, 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 right? Like, that was social pressure of, like, I have to pass because, like, I think I know in my time in high school, or in all my years in school, the most I ever saw somebody get held back was 2 years. The second time, and then a lot of times those kids, they became like the rock star students after the second time they get held back, because then they start realizing, like, dude, this is getting weird. Like, I'm not even hanging out with cool people my own age anymore. I'm hanging out with people that are like 2 years younger than me, and that's a big difference at the age. It's not good. So maybe they drop out too, but I tell you what, they drop out when they send their kids to school. They are gonna, if they ever have kids, their kids might actually be pretty damn awesome. And I'll tell you why. Because the parent values education because they realize the mistake they made when they were there. We don't have that anymore. There's all kinds of different things about social pressure people just don't understand. They just don't want negative consequences for anything. And since they remove the negative consequences, the incentives and disincentives for everything become skewed horribly in the direction of basically failure. It sets everybody on the path to failure because the incentives and disincentives steer people that direction. So, at some point, like I noticed at school, my kids are going to school. Obviously, y'all guys know that. And you know that half the time y'all send up to your teachers they're not paid very well. They're some of the lowest paid people like ever. Right? Maybe not worse than police officers or something for some reason, but that makes no sense to me. But they're pretty low paid, which means we attract people. We don't attract good people to the field, right? we're not attracting like super smart people. We're not attracting. Generally speaking, you're attracting. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. But it's also, and then it's just since you're working with kids, you're gonna have pedophiles. Pedophiles are gonna be attracted to those jobs just regardless. I'm not gonna say every teacher's a pedophile. Like, not even close, right? I'm not saying that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like pedophiles want to work with kids, right? Schools work with kids, so you're going to have pedophiles try to work for the school system. That's going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it. So, anyway, make a long story short, and then now you have all this bureaucratic red tape. So you have a bunch of government like mentality of like, it doesn't matter what we do, we're going to get paid anyway, kind of thing. You have a lot of teachers there that, and then we have. Anyway, the school system is riddled with so many problems of knee-jerk people adding new bureaucracy to teachers so that teachers can't teach. Parents complaining about those policies and sometimes the lack of policies. You know, helicopter parents mixed with like parents that are looking at the school system saying it's broken. But basically, so now everybody's against the school system on every side. Right? And the teachers are sitting there struggling to do anything if they're halfway decent. Most of the time, the good teachers leave after they're. I know a teacher that left after 9 months. I know a teacher that left after like a couple I think it was like a year and a half. I know my wife. She worked for the school system and dropped out after a bit because of all that crap and all the different stuff. And then she went back. All this stuff. So we're not able to retain good people in the school system. And then some teachers that have been there for like 20 years or something, they're about to retire. And they've just managed to like hold on because maybe the work ethic is awesome or something. And anyway, but a lot of those people they're leaving. What do we got left? Well, we've got COVID came in, and then it destroyed any semblance of education that I think was left in the school system. And what's amazing to me to think about is I thought this was going to happen to colleges, universities first, to where the piece of paper, like the piece of paper people give out, that's just advertising, right? That's all that is. It's like, look how well I did at school, right? And then the employer's going to ask, well, what school was that? Like, if you graduated from like some trailer where like you had a Christian professor and he was like teaching like religious studies or some stuff, like, oh, that piece of paper don't mean crap to me. I don't care. It's not what I'm looking for. I don't even know what that means, right? It's just a piece of paper with stuff written on it, right? Because if that school's not well known or whatever, I'm not saying it's because of Christians. I'm saying it's because it's like it's not well known, so that piece of paper may not mean anything. People that just accept these diplomas from anywhere are retarded. They don't know what the purpose of a diploma is. They just don't know. That's part of the problem too, and I think there's a whole bunch of people that don't actually get what I'm fixing to say either. And that is that I think we have reached a point, probably, where if I was to graduate high school and I show off my diploma and they say, oh, you graduated just last year, huh? That's great. I don't care what your GPA was. I don't care that you have a diploma or didn't have it. If you told me I dropped out of high school because I just didn't think it was worth it. I was like, I didn't think it was worth the effort because what? I'm going to show you my high school diploma and you're going to look at it and you're going to say, what are you going to say about me? What, I stayed in school so I could do remote learning, so I could do, my kids didn't do remote learning for very long at all, but it doesn't matter because it's it's countrywide, this perception, right? My kids are better off because they'll say they graduated from Florida. Florida's got its own problems, I think, but so maybe that's not true. But It may be that the piece of paper that you get when you graduate high school that says, well, you graduated high school, may not mean shit. And I'm already of the conclusion that colleges, I'm already convinced that colleges, I have to look at the college, right? But with high school diplomas, it may actually already be worse. The cultural impact of what that piece of paper means may be diminished to a degree that having one doesn't matter one lick, unless you got it like forever ago, and even then, we're old enough now that we're already established, and whatever we're going to be doing, we're doing already, probably. So, it's just one more way in which I don't know how you come back from this, because it's not the school system necessarily that's the problem. It's all of us. It's just cultural decay and lack of any central vision of what the school system is supposed to be. People, we stand on the shoulders of giants, and we're graced with this society and societal inheritance where people that came before us built this great culture. So you turn on the light switch, the lights turn on. You turn on the water comes out. You have gas-powered stoves, gas-powered vehicles. You have this massive infrastructure and nobody. It's not nobody. Most people don't know how it works, don't care how it works, aren't interested in how it works. They're not interested in the values that got us here. They're not interested in preserving it. They're completely uninterested in what makes the world what it is that they experience. And because they don't understand anything, they value nothing. And so they're perfectly happy to just watch it all crumble around them. Decay, atrophy, collapse. It's really quite sad. We're going to have some really dark times here, I think, before people understand what's important again, because I really think that's what's lacking. They anything given for free has no value. They inherited this culture for free. And so the culture has no value. They don't feel like they need to preserve it or earn it or be proper custodians of it. All they want is to change everything, and they don't understand you don't even understand what factors exist in this society to make it work so well. So when they're advocating for changes, they're literally just like making changes that are going to take us in a bad direction, because they don't understand what makes society work. It's really what it boils down to. And so we have so many people that are like that, and those people are so loud, right? Or a combination of those two things, right? That there seems to be no meaningful pushback, and when there is meaningful pushback, it gets squashed into Senate or whatever. So it is what it is. I'm actually kind of resigned to this at this point. Don't get me wrong, I'll fight it in whatever capacity I can, but I don't think there's any writing. The Titanic is sinking. Rome is falling for the second time. Not that Rome was the best place ever, but you get the point. I think we're on our way out. It's a travesty. It almost makes me regret having kids. I guess there's nothing I can do about that now, because I'm really hoping that they have a good life. But don't know. I can't predict the future. I can only see patterns and I can make predictions and stuff, but you know, you never know. Maybe something else. Maybe we can somehow save ourselves. Um, who knows?